This is by far the most advanced technology that humanity create. When we started Bria, we had a movie of how we think that creation will look like in the near future. And you see someone sit in front of a computer and say, hey, we need to do a campaign for this product, and we want it to have with the brand guideline and create it with all of the aspect ratio and add a movie for that. And when we saw that 6 years ago, people laugh on us and says, this is crazy. It will take 50 years to do that. It took 6 years to be there. It's very, very advanced technology. It's really hard.
Hi, welcome to the Media Copilot. It's a podcast that dives into how AI is changing media, news, and communication. I'm your host, Pete Paschal. I covered tech for a long time as a journalist, and now I have conversations with the media players, the builders, and the creators who are all answering the question, how will we get information in the future, and how will that change the jobs and industries whose business is information, especially media? One of the biggest unresolved questions in generative AI is whether creative models can be both powerful and quote unquote safe for real world business use. With text models, the fight often centers on scraping and fair use and attribution. With image and video models, the stakes can feel even more immediate. Brands worry about copyright and likeness rights, misinformation, deepfakes, and crucially, whether AI generated media can be trusted when you publish it. My guest this week is Dr. Yair Adato, founder and CEO of Bria. Bria is building visual generative AI around a clear mission that image and video models for business should be trained on licensed data, built for attribution and designed for traceability, and of course, that coveted label, brand safe. So we're going to talk about what makes visual AI different from LLMs, why that matters for media and marketing, and what responsibility should look like for AI companies that make their business around image and video. So Dr. Yair Adato, welcome to the Media Copilot.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I said your full name because I wasn't sure if you wanted me to call you Doctor or Yair or Dr. Adato. Can I just call you Yair?
I think that Dr. Adato is only for my grandmother.
Okay. I'll just call you Yair. Well, it's great that you could make the time to talk to us. Before we get into Bria and the future of visual AI and everything, tell us a bit about who you are and what led you to this work.
You said at the beginning something interesting. You said creators and builders, and I think that I'm a little bit creative and a little bit builder. So I knew that I want to do a PhD since I was like in the second grade in the computer science or in mathematics, and I did a PhD in computer vision. And from here to create what I'm doing in Bria is quite a direct path, right? This is what I'm doing in the last 25 years of my life.
Nice. So what then led to the creation of Bria and its mission?
So it's a kind of a funny story. In 2014, I was in a ICCV, it's a conference for computer vision, and I saw one of the early paper on generative AI. It was not even called generative AI back then. It's called adversarial AI, the paper of GAT. And it hits me in my stomach, and I thought that it's how, this is how data should be generated. I thought that it's going to change the world, that the revolution will be similar to the revolution of the internet. We can talk about it. And then for several years, I wait for the technology to become more mature until 2020. And since then, we're building at Bria with three pillars in the way that we approach it. It's for professional. So the three pillars is how it can be trusted and work with the people, with the creator and not against them. How it can be controlled, because at the end of the day, you know exactly what you want to do as a storyteller or as a professional or as a brand manager. And it must be super controlled. And how it can be owned by the enterprise or by the company and not rented from Google Nano Banana. How can you use it, integrate that, deploy that in your pipeline, integrate it with your pipeline. So these are the three pillars that we are building at Bria.
Okay. So it's I'm interested in sort of like what specifically about like what AI does appeal to you as a computer vision specialist, right? Because a lot of people, because it definitely sounds like you were early, right? 2020 is before the world was captured by AI. That said, I obviously I was still a huge thing, and people in the know knew it was growing rapidly. But a lot of people focus on large language models and sort of that moment and sort of the earlier GPT models and stuff. What was that connection in terms of like AI plus computer vision, and you thought this was how things were going to develop?
The generative AI can generate a lot of different modality, different type of AI. I think that we are only in the beginning of this revolution. My favorite media is visual. People are visual creature. This is what I learned in university. I learned it both for the computer science and psychology element. Something between 40 to 70% of your brain is dedicated to understand the visual stream. So I like pictures. I like visual. This is what I like to do. And if you can combine it with a leading cutting edge of technology, this is what I like to do.
Nice. All right, so give me those pillars again, really quickly with Bria. Obviously, the integration is what you ended on, and you mentioned that for the brand safety, and is there like give me those
No,
again? One, two, three.
so one will be trust. All of
Trust.
the
Okay,
things
so
that you
that's the
said
brand
at the
safety.
beginning, all the things that you said at the beginning, how to make sure that the visual can be trusted. How can you make sure that you didn't steal data of someone that doesn't belong to you? Likeliness, copyright. How to get something which is sustainable in an ecosystem that you can take and build something upon it. The second one is controllability. How can you direct the AI in a way that you want? How can you get exactly what you want and not what the prompt enhancer decided it will do for you?
Right,
And
and
the
the
last
third is the
one,
integration. Yeah.
the last one is the flexibility, where you do the integration, where you do the hosting. This is a huge revolution. And my assumption is that going further, organization will use that more and more. And the way that they will use that cannot be common to everyone, cannot be out of the box to everyone. They cannot rent it from Google. They need to own it. And what does it mean to
Mm,
own it? It means that you know exactly what it's going to do. This is the control. You know exactly how you're going to want to work with that. This is the flexibility integration, and you can and you know that it's yours, that it's not stolen from everyone, that you will not have the surprises.
right, right. That seems like goes sort of hand in hand with the trust in some way. But why don't we start with the trust? Because that I think really is probably the biggest thing, both at sort of the brand level and sort of and the media level. Even though I think they might be defining trust a little differently, or maybe just trust at different layers in the process. So let's start with trust in the data, right? So I mentioned at the beginning your approach to being brand safe. You're obviously not the only ones out there talking about that, but tell me about the importance of this and how it's evolved over the past couple of years as image models have gotten better. Because I think in most people's minds, there's and you tell me if this is true or not, there's an assumption that if you're only using licensed data and non-commercial data, or I guess public domain data, your model is not going to be as good as the ones that are just training on everything. So give me one. Tell me, correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me what your
You,
perspective
you,
is, and then
you're
how
wrong.
important the brand safe is. Go ahead, you go.
You're wrong. There's a lot of misconception in the market, and since it's a big shift in how we think about economy and technology, and big shift of how we're going to build software, there is a lot of noise and misconception. It's just a question of how you create an ecosystem that support data ownership and creatives rights. And we already had this example in the past. So at the beginning, 20 years ago, there was companies called Pirate Bay or Netflix, Napstar. And they say that if you want to hear all of the music of the world, the only way that you can do that is if they scrap the internet and give you an access to all of the music unlicensed. And then came Spotify and changed the business model and says, you know what, instead of having the right to buy the song or the album, I can have the right to listen to the song and I will pay per listen. And they create a new IP model. And here comes the Spotify and all of the streaming industry that came after that. It changed the way that this industry work, and maybe you could do it better, arguably. But there is a way to do a streaming where you pay for the artist. We are saying the same. We are saying that what we need to create here is a new data economy. The way that we will create this data economy is that we will not steal data, and we will go to all of these data owners and tell them, if you will give us your data, we will train a legal model and we will give you part of our revenue. And in order to do so, we create an attribution technology patented with more than 30 patents today. So this attribution technology knows to tell who should be rewarded when we generate something. So if, for example, we will go and generate underwater images, only the visual from underwater that close to what we generate will get rewarded.
So if I understand, so basically you have license stuff, you have partners, but you have an attribution system. And then every time that thing is used by the model, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna, use the visuals in this as sort of a basis, it knows, and then there's a per use compensation.
Yes, we pay back. For the last year and a half, we pay for our data owners part of our revenue as part of the agreement that we have them. And according to what people are generated in our system, we pay back. We have agreement today with all of the data provider, all of the big data provider and small data provider for image stock and video stock. Getty Images, Shutterstock, Alamin, Vato, FreePic, Deposit Photo, and also local one like Getty Korea and other, because you want to have a good representation of the world. It's more than a billion visual. It's very, very high quality. And we train the model using this data. And now we not only that we have enough data to train a very high quality model, we flip the flow of data. Now, when Getty Images has a new set of data because the world is keep changing, they send it to us so we can integrate it into the model so they can get more attribution. So we create a new data economy around it.
Got it. So it's not like you're not getting high quality images in. It's just that you have built a model around it that allows you this licensed access that ensures you get you just sort of a constant input of high quality stuff. Okay, makes sense. So let's talk about trust at another layer of the process.
Maybe I will add here one more thing. Now we're doing the same thing, not only with the image repository or visual repositories players. Now we are doing the same with the studios. Tell them, give us your data for video. We will create a video model, and then you will get access to this video model. This is how you own it, and we will pay attribution if somebody else will get inspiration from your data. So there is a way also with the studios to create a video model, very high quality, in a way that everyone will earn from that.
Makes sense. So I'd love to talk about trust at another layer of this, right? Which is the thing that gets a lot of press, which is the deep fakes and, unauthorized likenesses, I guess, which I believe you prohibit, right? As out of your terms of service. And how do you do that? Well, first of all, let's talk about how your service, but then sort of the broader problem. How do you ensure that doesn't happen? Is it at sort of the model level, the prompt level, both? How do you design guardrails to prevent this?
It's a great question, and actually it's a very simple one, because if you're using only licensed data, then you don't have a problem of copyright and likeliness. You cannot do a fake of Donald Trump because he was not in the data, and the model never saw that. So instead of still in the data and then try to solve what we should put out of the model, we said we will only put data with no trademark, no privacy, no likeliness. Every piece of visual that we get has the release right. So now there is no problem of creating famous people because there was simply not in the database.
So not even so in the Getty stuff, it's just stock. And if it's stock
Exactly. It's not
and
the editor.
got it. And
It's not
so
the editorial, sorry.
so if if there is a likeness to anyone, it's they've licensed their own image in it because the battle still has to know what people look like. So like I assume there's people in
Yeah, of course.
these
But they
things.
give a release form.
Yeah.
They give it a list so you could go to get the images and use that. And the model will not generate exactly the same. That's okay. But even if it does, there is a release form.
Okay. And just broadly on this issue, you know, it's definitely like a thing that I think prevents a lot of people from trusting AI. It raises a lot of suspicion. A lot of models, I you know, not sure about most, but I would think it's safe to say most don't have that standard that you have, right? So there's a lot of easy ways to generate these. Um, how like besides you know just going out and like making every data set um, a licensed version, like how do you how should a society sort of address this problem of these likenesses, and are there other ways to do things with images that um, you might still be able to do with a model like yours? Like if I uploaded something that I just downloaded on my own, could I change it?
Trust is a question. So I will split my answer to two with your permission. Trust is a question of how do you create trust with the AI system. It's a question of transparency and explainability and the ability to say, Here is exactly what I did," and you can observe that. Um, it's not a black magic. It's not a black box. It's not something that people cannot do. It's just a question of money. And here's an example. Um, Disney had an agreement with the OpenAI, and immediately you cannot generate a Disney character without a permission. They block it. And Google, you just need to play a little bit with the prompt, and you can generate whatever you want. Even though that if you try to create a Captain America directly, it will block. But if you will play a little bit, I want to have a
Mm.
superhero with it will create it. It's just a question of money. One of the biggest misconception in the market is this: we don't know exactly what is going on in this model. Of course you do what is going on in this model. You develop that. You know which kind of data you put it. You know what is the architecture. The model keep improving because you know what you are doing. So it's just a question of market standard, people expectation, regulation. You can solve it. It's just if the small Bria was able to solve it, everyone else can solve it also.
So you seem to be sort of saying that the black box thing that a lot of people point out with the AIs is maybe not entirely a fallacy, but a bit of a fallacy in that like you've solved the attribution thing, the issue, and you in other words like these companies probably know better than they're saying on what's happening in terms of how that's generating content, and
Of
maybe
course they
there's
know.
better ways. Yeah.
Of course they know. They develop the model. The second part of that is how you create a control, and what we developed in the last 2 years is a visual language. We call it VGL, Visual Generative AI Language, which when you generate something, you don't generate it from a prompt. You generate it from a full visual language, and you have here the camera and the composition and texture, and for each object where it's placed and where it's locally where it's in the image and lighting and everything. So if you have the full language, you know exactly what is going on, and you can go to this language and go to a specific object and go to a specific texture. It says I want it in red, and it will change it because we create something which is very controllable. So it's a question of how you build the technology, what kind of business use case you want to solve, and what is the standard that you put to yourself.
So it seemed to me in this past fall, there was a sort of a breakthrough moment with visual models. And if I had to trace it, it was in Nano Banana. And, that got a lot of buzz. And my general feeling on Nano Banana was that it was an incredible leap forward, mostly for instruction following, which is sort of the second thing that you mentioned in your three pillars, which is like if the thing will actually do what you tell it to do, as opposed to kind of guessing from the word salad you've given it, it's just a much more useful tool. And first of all, do you think that's a fair thing to say that that was sort of the biggest breakthrough with that model? And also, why was it so hard for so long for these image models to just understand what I was asking it to do? It might be at the lens and the lighting and some of the things you just mentioned there, right? But it would just kind of like put people in weird places, and even putting aside the stuff like the anatomical weirdness that was in the earlier models, right? Like, yeah, I just find even today in certain models like Midjourney, it still just seems to do random stuff that it has nothing to do with the prompt I said. At least with Nano Banana and other newer models, it's actually trying to do what I'm telling it to do.
First of all, it's a very advanced technology because it's a work like a magic, and because we see the progress in the last 3 years, we think about it as a simple. This is by far the most advanced technology that humanity create. And if you think about it, when we started Bria, we had a movie of how we think that creation will look like in the near future. And you see someone sit in front of a computer and say, "Hey, we need to do a campaign for this product, and we want it to have with the brand guideline and create it with all of the aspect ratio and add a movie for that." And when we saw that 6 years ago, people laugh on us and says, "This is crazy. It will take 50 years to do that." It took 6 years to be there. It's very, very advanced technology. It's really hard. So the first part of my answer, it's simply hard. The second one, I think that the models keep evolving all the time. I think that Google has a really, really good model with Nano Banana. And they also invest a lot of the good product and a good marketing on it. Um, and if it's a break-in, I don't know. It's better than what was before, but I don't know if it's substantial different. I think that what we will start to see is that people will start to estimate the technology not according to the model, which is tech discussion. It's according of what they want to do, which is a business discussion. And between the tech and what you want to do, there's many layers of how I'm going to create a model, what kind of product I'm going to build on top of that, what kind of fine tuning I allow to do, uh, etc. So now it's a question of how you want to use it. We argue that if you want to use something in a professional uh, in a professional use case, you need to see a full transparency of what the model did and to have the ability to create a feedback loop to change it immediately because you know exactly what is going on behind the scene. So this is why we open this VGL and say that it's a directable approach for generative AI.
So give me like a snapshot of the most common use cases for your platform and sort of the kind of customer. And I don't just necessarily mean the industry or whatever. I've played around in your playground, and for a while, I thought your tools were really good, even just to dabble in, because for someone who, say, doesn't really know the ins and outs of Photoshop and just wants a reliable image model that can do things like remove backgrounds and do
Mhm.
um, interesting different things with lighting on something and without changing the entire thing. I thought it was super duper useful, and very reliable. Again, I think some of the other models have sort of come a long way since then, but I wonder about the typical user who uses Bria, because maybe they don't spend a lot of time in Creative Suite, and maybe that's is that tend to be the person who uses it? You tell me.
So first of all, I will send you the new version that we are going to release next week. It's super cool. It's agentic by nature.
Oh, it'll
Um,
already be out by the time people hear this. So check it out,
ah,
folks. Bria.ai.
we are aimed for professionals, so it's not someone that needs to create a presentation for school or something like a meme or something like cool. It's someone that need to have it in a professional way. It's boiled to three use cases. One is I need to integrate that into my product, and then you will see all kind of creative platform that we empower them behind the scene. It can be I want to build my own technology in-house, and that will be a lot of retailers, CPGs that create a catalog and the ads and marketing material, and they want to own the entire process. Marketing agency will be there also.
So this would
And
be
the
like
last,
they have their workflows and software, and they want an image model that is brand safe, reliable, instruction following, the whole bit, and tailored to their brand and their
the
stuff. This is
tailored is super important. They want to
yeah.
tailor it to their use case and to their brand. So they might tune the model to control the length of the sleeve because this is what they need for their catalog. They might tune it to have it for the brand guidance because this is what they need. So the second element will be this: I need a high performance model for or platform basically to my internal use. And the last option, which is the more what we what I personally focus in the last 6 months, is professional storyteller studios. I think that we are there. We are just finished a very successful pilot with one of the studio to create an kids animation series. So how to create a non-linear production in a way that it will give the artist to be part of the process, to put the soul into the production, but at the same time to reduce the cycle, reduce the time, make it non-linear, maybe to have more creativity at the same time.
Cool. So you're talking about obviously like putting some video as well as imagery in there. And
Yeah,
how do you handle sort of the realities of generative video where, the character consistency, a lot of it's like taking a bunch of short clips and stringing them together and hopefully they're
yeah. We don't
similar or
try.
not similar.
Yeah, we don't try to do that. We don't try to ignore the way that these companies work. They have their process. They know why they're doing what they do. They are professional storyteller. They're doing that for years. They have someone for camera and someone for light and someone for whatever. We don't try to replace the way that they operate. We help them to integrate AI into their process. Um the output is that the pipeline become in a way non-linear, which create a lot of efficiency. You can see how the movie is going to look like way before the movie is exist. But we are not trying to create a view-like approach. They have the way to do the pipeline. We will follow your way.
Nice. And do you think just broadly like these tools, are they narrowing that gap between people who don't have a lot of training and the real skilled creative teams? Are you seeing some of that? Are some of your customers more like we want this, but we also want the ease of generative video, like and imagery? Because it's like one of the things about AI, it's beyond just doing interesting things with output, is that it could sort of understand your workflow and even how you're working, right? So, and that's kind of a little bit what the instruction following settles into. So, like like something like Creative Suite, for example, is sort of notoriously complex, and so my full credit to the people who dive in it and are really skilled at it, but some folks just need something that works, and AI can kind of like walk you through it, or at least get you sort of most of the way there without getting into that.
So it's really good. It's really good observation. But then I will say that it's yes and no. Yes, it will help the people to do stuff with less technical skill. I don't need to understand all of the button that they are in Photoshop. Most of them I can replace, and I definitely not need to do repeatable process of taking an ads and create that in every aspect ratio. It's boring. So all of the boring, repeatable technical stuff, we know how to make it better. But how to tell a good story, what is aesthetic, what is nice, what is not boring, this is where you need people. This platform, here's another misconception or another alternative way to think about Gen AI. It's a machine learning process. It's aimed to create what is statistically correct. Statistically, most of the people in the world has 5 fingers. This is how you want this model will work. Statistically is also average. When you do something as a professional, you don't want average. You don't want average. You want to do something which is very special, very beautiful, very creative, great story. And this is where I believe uh, AI will not replace us so fast.
Yeah, I hope not. And I also think the application of visual media in the media, and the news media specifically, has always been kind of a dicey thing. Obviously, a lot of newsrooms, because they're dealing with real world events, outlaw generative AI, at least in news stories, right? So is there, do you think, in a newsroom kind of process, is there room for generative at all? Is there a role there? I'm not sure what you think, or do you have some media customers? What are your thoughts on like how the generative world is sort of seeping into the real world in this way? Because there's obviously been issues.
I feel that authenticity will be important in the next few years. We're going to have a lot of very lousy, crappy, medium content. So I think to create something which is authentic will be important. And I think that this is amazing tool. You can take this tool and to create a personal paper. It will be different between me and you. And we had this kind of thing even before generative AI, right? Of how to create a different title to an article according to data that you know about the person. So this thing will become easier and easier. But if you need to tell a good story, if you need to find something that was not there before, it's just a tool. It's just a very, very, very advanced tools that give you the feeling that is smart, but it's not smart. It's just statistics. So it will help you to do the boring stuff, and you will need to do the special stuff.
You mentioned just talking about things happening in the next few years. That's a great place to focus as we wrap things up here. As things change, as these models keep getting better, there was fears of a ceiling, and now everyone's saying they're not seeing the ceiling. We had a nano banana breakthrough. There's probably going to be more coming. What do you think is going to surprise us the most in the next couple of years on and I'm going to complement this with my final question for most of my guests, which is what do you see that's very hopeful, and what do you see that you are really, really concerned about? And with visual, I feel like the concerns are amplified just because we're already seeing what can happen with a lot of these deep fakes and lack of trust and things. Maybe start there then. Maybe start with the concerns.
With the fear.
Yeah.
Technology is always doing the same thing. Automate process, automate something. Cars is a technology that help you automate the process from you to go from point A to point B. In very few occasions in the history, the automation was around data. It's writing, it's printing press, is internet, which is data distribution, and it's now. Every time that it's happened, everything around economy and society change. I don't know how it's going to change, but I know that if we will not put a lot of thinking about it, it's going to be rough. What does it mean about democracy? What does it mean about trust? What does it mean about society? Someone need to really, really think about this question. It's not cool. I just did a nana banana and I have a cool image. It's much, much deeper than that. Makes sense?
I think it makes sense. So then what's hopeful? What do you think is the upside as these images models get better and anyone can sort of magically just whisper something into existence that looks amazing, great, and maybe even suits their business purpose?
Yeah. So it's amazing technology. It helps you to automate one of the things that was the most hard to do, which is to create data, any type of data, including images and video, but not only. And if you have a way to do that in a very efficient way, you can do stuff which are amazing. For years, we look on the Star Trek on the computer and how they talk about the computer with the computer and create this thing in the holodeck. This is what happened now today. So we can do amazing stuff with that, but we do need to think how we are going to do that in a way that it will create a better economy and society, and not just here's technology. Let's see what happens.
Right. It's got going to create value, but it can't just be for the end user. Like there's
The
value
problem
to be
is
shared
that if
throughout the chain.
the problem is that if you don't control the process, the value will not be for the end user or for the people. It will be for the one that control the technology, and this is a problem.
That is a problem. And we could do a whole nother podcast on just that. But I think we're pretty much out of time. Thank you so much for dropping by here. This has been great.
Thank you, Pete. It was great.
Thanks for listening to my conversation with Dr. Adato, Bria. The Media Copilot is a podcast, and it'd be fantastic if you could give the show a star rating if you're listening on Spotify, a like and a subscribe if you're on YouTube, and a review if you're on Apple. Those things really do help the show get in front of more people. The Media Copilot podcast is produced by Muso Media. Look for their link in the show notes, and don't forget to subscribe to the Media Copilot newsletter as well. Thanks for being here, and I'll be seeing you in the future.